Okay, everyone, good morning. We're going to get started. I wanted to welcome you to the 14th Annual International Conference on Stigma with our theme this year of My Story, Who Can I Tell? Disclosure, Harm, and Healing. I'm Patty Houston, one of the main organizers for the event, and I hope you were able to enjoy some of our partners and work groups sessions yesterday. They were excellent. And we're very grateful to our generous sponsors for this event. They have virtual booths on our Whova page, as well as some of them have exhibitor booths. So make sure you visit their booths to thank the sponsors. I've created a short presentation of announcements that I'm going to go over now before we move on to the later part of the session. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes, we could see it.
Okay, okay, there we go. Okay. So I just wanted to give a quick overview of the event yesterday. Hopefully you joined us for our virtual Partners Day. And then today we're going to be virtual from 9 a.m. all the way up until about 8:30 tonight. So we have a really full day for you. So we hope you can join us for a lot of that. I'm sorry. And then Thursday will be a little bit more relaxed. We only have one kind of official presentation, which is our first phase session at 1 o'clock. But we also have two of our poster presenters who will present tomorrow. I believe one is 10:30 and one at 3. So make sure to check out those sessions as well as some of the other things on our site. I think I have another slide on that a little bit later. And then Friday, we will be in person at Howard, so please join us. But if you can't, there will be a webcast. As you probably know, we're using the Whova platform. Sorry, let me minimize this other window. And if you kind of lose track of the link or get lost, you can always go back to www.whocanyouTell.org, and we have a button on there that will take you back to the Whova site. Also, you may be able to use a phone app if you prefer. You can actually access all of our sessions right on the phone app if you don't have computer access or prefer the phone. And then, that's our email for assistance. We do try to run our sessions on time and end on time. However, occasionally a session may run over. If that's the case, we will be trying to start the next session still on time. So you can always leave the session you're in and then go ahead and log on to your next session. Leaderboard, Whova has a leadership board where you get points depending on how active you are on the site. It's just like a fun little interactive thing. We hope you'll enjoy the friendly competition, but due to it becoming a little bit overly competitive in the past, unfortunately, we're not offering any monetary prizes for the top leaderboard this year. Raffles, we will have several raffles throughout the event. We have 2 today for $50 Visa gift cards. And Friday, we have another $50 and $100 if you come on Friday. And you're automatically registered for the virtual raffles today, as long as you're registered for the conference. And Friday, we'll have a ticket for you to submit. Throughout at the site, you can find abstracts, written art submissions. If you go under, I believe it's resources, you can go into documents. And then you can also find posters, which you have to go under agenda to find the posters. And then the exhibitors have their own area to click on throughout our site. virtual booths. Make sure you check out the booths. Some of them actually have special promotions or giveaways that you might want to enter. And lastly, there's a community board, which many of you have already found, where we have chat boards, and you can even start your own session, which you can hold through the virtual meetup application. So we hope you'll get on and do some networking. Okay, Thursday, I mentioned already a little bit, but it's going to be less structured. So we also, if you go in the poster section, some people chose to pre-record their poster presentation. So on Thursday is a great day to go into those posters, check them all out, see which ones have presentations that are recorded, and you can watch those at any time. I've already talked about the meetups. If you do set up your own virtual meetup, make sure you choose the video conferencing platform. Sometimes we've had people set them up, but they don't actually set up a link to join. So you can just use Hoova's link. You don't have to have your own Zoom link, although that is an option as well. Evaluations, I forgot to mention this yesterday, but every session that you watch, if you go into the session, you'll find a button that says rate session. So if you could go back for yesterday and today, any session you watch, if you can go ahead and rate that session, we'd really appreciate it. It's just a couple really quick questions. And then at the very end of the event, you'll get an overall evaluation by email. We have some social workers registered for CEUs. It's still open if you want to register. You can still get credits for the remaining sessions. And the general registration will remain open if you have colleagues that still want to join. As I said, today we're going, basically the main content goes till 5:45, but we also have a film screening at 7, and in between we have one of our poster presenters going at 6 o'clock. So give her some support. I know it's a long day and late in the day, but it would be great if you can attend those later events. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And okay, so now, one more thing to mention. In most of our sessions, you won't be live in the Zoom like you may have been yesterday. It'll be more of like a webinar. So if you do want to submit questions, you can still do that through the chat. So make sure you take advantage of that chat to submit your comments or questions. Okay, enough announcements. Let's get started. Next up, we're going to have greetings brought to us by Athena Cross, who's the Vice President and Chief Program Officer of AIDS United, who is also one of our sponsors. And then this will be followed by a welcome from Dr. Anthony Wuta, the Provost and Chief Academic Officer of Howard University. Following Dr. Wuta, excuse me, we will share a few stigma stories that have been submitted from individuals who are reflecting on this year's conference theme. And I also want to thank Abina Ben, Momina Roth, and Aissatou Diallo for helping us with some of the logistics of creating those videos this year. Concluding our opening session this morning, we'll have Dr. Rana, who will give a short talk before we move on to the international session. Please welcome at this time, Athena Cross.
Good morning. I do not know how to share take my face, my screenshot off, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I just want to say good morning and welcome to the 2023 Annual International Conference on Stigma. My name is Athena Cross, and I am the Vice President and Chief Program Officer at AIDS United. AIDS United's mission is to end the HIV epidemic in the United States. And I think we can all take a guess on what the main barrier is in achieving our mission. Hi. All right. Well, we can all take a guess at what the main barrier is in achieving our mission. And you guessed it, it's stigma. For many of us in this space, stigma serves as one of the main roadblocks we face in addressing the healthcare needs of communities that we serve. Stigma, either internal or external, can have disastrous impacts on a person's decision to even disclose that they need care, let alone engage in the care that they need. We know that without addressing stigma, we will not be successful in any of our healthcare efforts. However, for people with lived experience, it's so much more than successful healthcare efforts. It's deeply personal. Stigma cuts through to destroy a person's dignity and negatively impacts their self-esteem. It is on all of us to push back against stigma and support marginalized members of our community. We all deserve to reach our full potential and live our lives free from stigma. But in order to do that, we must address the root cause of stigma, which is fear. By continuing to educate ourselves and by speaking out, we can take a huge step in ending stigma for once and for all. Your presence here at this conference today is a critical part of our fight against stigma. And I want to thank you for taking the time to be a part of this important event and for the role that you will personally play in eradicating stigma from our society for all of us. I hope that you leave this conference more informed and more inspired to continue this transformative work that lies ahead. Thank you. And I guess I'll hand it back over.
Aware of the adverse impact. Good morning. I'm Dr. Anthony Wouton, and I currently serve as the Provost and Chief Faculty Officer here at Howard University. And it is certainly my honor and my pleasure to welcome you to the 14th Annual Conference on Stigma. I certainly want to express my deep thanks and appreciation to Dr. Sohail Rana and his wonderful team for continuing to put on this important event on behalf of our community, our researchers, our patients, our clients, our students, and thank them for the wonderful work that they continue to do on a year in, year out basis. As an HIV researcher myself, I'm acutely aware of the adverse impact that stigma has on individuals and communities. And I'm certainly appreciative for your attention to this issue and for the work that we all have to collectively do together to make sure that no one feels sick, stigmatized, certainly not for any medical condition, and certainly not for other things that they have to deal with and struggle with in their lives. And so again, on behalf of the entire Howard University community, welcome to the 14th Annual Conference on Stigma, and I look forward to meeting and interacting with many of you throughout the conference. Thank you, and God bless.
Hello, my name is Brian C. Jones from Cleveland, Ohio, and I've been living with an AIDS diagnosis going into my 41st year. I've seen the best and the worst of stigma. I've had my car burnt up in a driveway for not even holding hands with a person after sharing my status. I've also spoken at a college in Cleveland, Ohio, and I was hit over the head with a tire iron when I was leaving the event simply because I was sharing my status and talking about prevention methods. But it has only made me fight harder and become a stronger advocate and activist for HIV and AIDS.
Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon in parts of the world where people are listening or actually watching. I'm Sohail Rana, and I've been a pediatrician for quite some time. I've been at Harvard 43 years, and it's been a wonderful journey. And the best part of that journey was working with people with HIV and their families, and doing research, but most importantly, becoming an advocate and still learning to be an advocate for people with HIV and their families. So since we started our first conference, that was 13 and a half years ago, we were working to hold our first Stigma conference. We had no money and really no experience holding such a big event. Today, 13 years later, our team has much more experience. They're awesome. They have it patented. However, we still have no money. We have to put together nickels and dimes to put on this show. So please give a big hand to the people who work very, very hard to put this together. God bless them. And now if I can move this down. So good morning to everybody. Assalamu alaikum and namaste and whatever other language you're speaking. God bless you all. As you know, what the title of this year International Conference on Stigma is, it's about sharing our stories. Most individuals with HIV, their families, and to be honest, most of us are stigmatized one time or the other, and it's not easy for us to share our story either. So it's storytelling is one of the hardest thing. Sharing our deepest secrets is so difficult, and this whole conference is about finding ways and the benefits, and certainly there are some harms attached to disclosing your diagnosis, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be HIV. It may be mental health. It may be epilepsy. It may be another condition which you yourself find very stigmatizing or which you think would devalue you. So as has been said before, stigma has been attached to various illnesses to an extreme degree. You all know about leprosy. All through the history, stigma has been attached to the color of the skin, to disabilities, to seizures, and most recently, one of the most stigmatized illness has been HIV. So what is stigma? I think any behavior, any attitude that devalues a person, that excludes a person, that discriminates against a person because of an attribute that person has. And certainly here we are talking about illnesses as an attribute that devalue the person. And it remains a major barrier to access to treatment, actual treatment, and most importantly, mental health of individuals afflicted with that attribute. So it is, if I were to put it, stigma is a game of blame and shame. So within this stigma, the part that the afflicted person really embodies and lives with every single day, most of the time, is the shame. That's the bug in the psyche that prevents us from sharing our story and living a full life. Shame is not guilt. Shame is focus on self. Guilt is behavior. Shame is focus on the individual itself. So shame tells us, oh, we are never good enough. Or if not that, who do you think you are? Shame is, I am bad. Guilt is, I did something bad. So you see, guilt focuses on behavior. Shame focuses on the individual itself. I am not good enough, or I'll never be good enough, or who do you think you are to fit into this gathering or this group of people? So shame is highly correlated with addiction, violence, depression, bullying, and suicide. Those are the behaviors or end results of carrying that shame with us all the time. Guilt, on the other hand, is inversely related to all these behaviors. So guilt, the more guilt one has, the less of those behaviors and conditions, while shame is highly correlated with addiction, violence, depression, bullying, and suicide. So disclosure of diagnosis is hard because it makes us vulnerable. Brene Brown has spent her lifetime, her professional lifetime, studying vulnerability, and she has some beautiful talks on TED Talk, on YouTube, and she has a couple of beautiful books on vulnerability. Vulnerability is, letting ourselves be vulnerable to rejection, to judgment, to exclusion. When we share our story, we anticipate some of those feelings, and the more the shame, the more that anticipation, so that shame prevents us from ever sharing our story. And if we don't share our story, we don't ever get closer to other people. So vulnerability, on the other hand, is not a weakness. Vulnerability is not a weakness, it's an emotional risk, it's exposure, and it's uncertainty. Actually, vulnerability is the most accurate measure of courage, if I may say it. And without vulnerability, there's no love. It fuels our daily life. Vulnerability is the basis of all close relationship, and it is our path to human connection. And humanity is all about being connected for most of us human. A lot of this work or these words have come from Brene Brown, and I couldn't change it. And I really salute her for all the wonderful work she has done in this area. And it fits in to this area of what we are talking about throughout this conference, of sharing our story, disclosing our diagnosis, letting ourselves be exposed to maybe rejection, maybe exclusion, maybe more shame. But without this vulnerability, we will never, ever connect, and our shame would continue to increase. So there is a beautiful word called empathy. Now, empathy, what is empathy? Now, empathy is our ability to put ourselves in other person's shoes. And in everyday life, let's not talk about diagnosis, but the two magical words that we use, when we're trying to connect to people, somebody's telling, oh, I just hate this hot weather. And he says, hey, you want to connect? Me too, me too, me too. So me too are those two beautiful words, which certainly makes the person who's telling their feelings be connected to you. Now, shame grows with secrecy, silence, and judgment. However, if there's empathy, shame disappears. If you had a petri dish, petri dishes where you grow germs, if you had shame in there, if you have secrecy, you have silence, and you have judgment, shame would grow 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. However, if there is any empathy around, shame disappears. So today, I'm here learning again, helping ourselves, helping each other as a provider, as an activist, as a person living with a condition that is stigmatized. That's actually, stigma is something every single one of us can wipe out. And I have to say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for us being able to start Stigma Conference and being here today, 13, 14 years later, holding this conference. I have to say special thanks to Patty for her leadership. Joanne, Cynthia, Sahir, Momna, and Abina, they were the crux of the team. And there's a whole village of people. If I start mentioning and listing the people, I'm sure to leave so many out. There are many people who have helped, and there are many other people who continue to help. And we have our mentors. I have to mention one name, somebody who used to run the show, who was our MC. I want you all to pray for her. Lisa Fager is battling breast cancer. and she has completed chemotherapy and she's doing wonderfully. I believe she has conquered cancer, but she needs your prayers. So please pray for Lisa Figure to give her complete health, and God willing, she'll be here next year emceeing the show at International Conference Stigma. I want to thank Dr. Bhutto for always being there for us, not for this conference alone, but for so many other things that make our survival possible. I thank all our funders, Gilead, Weave, United, AIDS United, and many others. They have their booths. Please visit them. And thank you for all our partners. And all of you who are here today and who will join later from different parts of the world virtually, together we can stop stigma. Remember, as a person suffering with a stigmatizing condition, vulnerability is one of the biggest weapons that we need to learn. And as a person who is trying to support a person with a stigmatized condition, empathy is the biggest weapon. I now introduce Dr. Chris Duncombe. I hope, Chris, I pronounce your name correctly. Chris is the Vice President and Chief Medical Officer of International Association of Providers of AIDS Care and Editor-in-Chief or Journal of the International Association of Providers of AIDS Care. Chris, take it away. Thank you so much.
Yeah, they're scheduled at 9:45, so they may take a couple minutes before the international session goes live. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you there.